All right, coming up next, so we're trying to find information about a function from a graph. So we're going to try to find things like the domain, the range, new stuff like x and y intercept values, and we can also find function values like we were doing if we know the formula, but we're going to do it strictly from the graph. I'm just going to list the pieces of information we're going to find, and then I'll do an example. So types of info. So number one, we want to be able to find the domain, right? So this is all of the x values where the function is defined, right? So where the graph is defined. So rather than having our sort of early simple examples where we just had like a handful of coordinates, x, y coordinates, we were finding the domains just from looking at the x values. If we have a graph, we want to be able to sort of pull and identify all the different x coordinates, all the different x values off of that. Probably it's going to be a lot of different things, and we're going to use our interval notation. We're going to do the exact same thing for the range, right? But our range values are going to be all of our y values, all the vertical values where the graph is defined. The third thing, so this is slightly new, is going to be, so x intercepts, so that's, so any coordinate where the graph crosses our x-axis, which is our horizontal axis, right, going across. The fourth thing is going to be y-intercepts. We use the y-intercept to graph our linear equations in 2.3. We were doing y equals mx plus b, right? The b value in that is the y-intercept. So this is going to be only one coordinate where the graph crosses the y-axis. So one thing that's unique is x-intercepts, you can have more than one. I miswrote this, let me erase this, right? Y-intercept is only one. So x-intercept, you could have more than one. You could have none of them if your function, for example, your graph, is always sort of up high and in the positives and is above the axis. For the y-intercept, you're really only ever going to have one because you're talking about crossing that vertical line, the y-axis. So you can't double back on it and still be a function, right? That would fail our vertical line test. In 2.1, the last piece of information we're going to find, so like information number 5, is we're going to find function values from the graph. And so what this means, this is things like f of 2 equals like what, right? F of like negative 3 equals some number. So instead of plugging it into a formula, this idea is that we're given a visual of our function. We're not really given a formula like we had a little bit earlier. So if we're strictly just given a visual representation of what this graph is supposed to be, we can still get function information for certain points. We just have to do it from the graph. We just have to do it visually. So that's the stuff that we're going to find.